This conference will now be recorded.
There she is. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the AnCan Active Surveillance Group for Wednesday night. It is Wednesday, September 10th. And what else? We are recording, obviously. I need to thank the sponsors. Oh my God, where's that list? Am I missing? Does somebody have the list handy? Because I'm not right in front of me at the moment. I can go to the website. Hang on.
Okay, I'll handle it. It's we need to thank Johnson & Johnson, Bayer, Novartis, Foundation Medicine, Myriad, Blue Earth, and Telix.
Is it in Blue Earth Diagnostics or not?
Blue Earth Diagnostics, correct.
Oh, okay. Wow, my memory's pretty good. So let's start with Mr. Lindsay. And let's get some information from you. We usually do a little intake of questions about your history and reports. So hopefully you have any testing notes and stuff so we can reference and help navigate you through active surveillance. So
question about the YouTube video that gets posted. Is that going to be something that's publicly available or only available via password? Or
I believe it's fully public.
It is. It's a fully public website on YouTube. It's AnCan channel. Unless someone's interested in prostate cancer, they probably won't see it. But we do have an AnCan channel, and we post our videos there. We don't post every meeting, but we do post quite a few of them. So, I mean, if you're worried about that.
Okay. Well, I guess. Okay, it's good to know.
You're telling 15 other men about your prostate cancer right now. So,
yeah,
you know, on YouTube, yeah, other people from AnCan will probably watch it. So,
okay,
they'll be your peers. So,
okay. Hi, everybody. Is it Rick or Eric who's moderating?
We're all me, Rick, and Bill are moderating, but I'll do the intake of all the questions.
And Phil.
Oh yeah, Phil's here. Sorry.
Okay.
So name and location, we pretty much have that, but go ahead and say it anyway, just so we know.
Yeah, I'm Lindsay. I live in West Los Angeles.
Well, and how did you hear about AnCan?
I heard about AnCan at the PCRI conference last weekend.
You were there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. And do we have your email for reminders of the groups?
I think so. Or I can put it in. I didn't put it in yet, but
okay.
Put it.
You can. Yeah. If you're familiar, are you familiar with GoToMeeting in the chat?
No, I'm not.
So in the upper right, there's a chat, little 2-window icon. If you click on that, you can open up a window, and then at the bottom right, you can send an email to either everyone or just the organizers. And so you can send your email there.
Okay.
Depending on how public you want it with the group.
Okay.
How old are you?
I am 67.
Cool. And are you a veteran by chance?
No, I'm not by chance.
Okay. And when
of any kind.
When were you first diagnosed with your prostate cancer?
I guess it'd be June 30th. Shortly after I had my biopsy.
2024?
This year, 2025, yeah.
Okay, so June of 25. And how did you get diagnosed, or how did this come about?
So my in my regular kind of like an annual checkup. Um, my primary care physicians noted that my PSA level had gone up a little higher, so she suggested that we investigate that. So um, did another PSA test, and and then she sent me to a urologist, and he suggested that we do an MRI, to
Okay.
take a look at things, because he said just with the PSA level, I was 6.4. He said, you might have a 30% chance of having cancer. And so we did the MRI, and it showed two lesions.
Hmm.
The one of them apparently is not as bad. One of them was 6 millimeter PRADS 4 and a 9 millimeter PRADS 3, which in my second visit my visit to the radiation oncologist, who was actually Dr. Kishan, who was at the conference. In that visit, they seemed to imply that the PRADS 3 lesion um, was of lower concern. So um, um, I guess at the conference they said it's good to know your PSA density, and went back into my records to check that out. So I guess if it matters to you at all,
Sure.
my PSA density is 0.40. Um,
So it
so
sounds like maybe a large prostate.
no,
Oh,
yeah. I guess at the conference I learned it's good if your PSA density is below 0.115, and so
right.
I'm definitely not below that, unfortunately. My report said that my prostate gland is about 16 grams. I don't know if that's large, or I don't think that's large, but
Is that grams or cc's, like
well, it
size?
Days.
says on the thing grams, but isn't that usually equivalences to cc's though?
It's the same. Yep.
Same. Okay.
Yeah,
So 16 grams is very small, Lindsay. So
yeah.
that's why your PSA is your density is high. What was your PSA?
It was last test was 6.4.
Yeah.
How
So
many how
that's
many PSA tests have you had?
I think I've had 3 this year.
And what was the trend? Where did it start, and
Uh,
where we always see
see,
know where it is now?
let's see. In February it was 6.6. Then I had another one. Oh no, we discounted that though because it was because the conditions were unfavorable. I
So
rode a
you
bike and stuff. I rode a bike and stuff like that.
so you know about the pre-PSA conditioning per se,
Yeah, I didn't know about that till
right?
because that one was like 8.9. So when I realized that, I suggest that we do another one, and so then after that, that was the test that resulted in the 6.4.
Okay.
So
So who's your urologist, and where are you getting his?
yeah, my urologist I was sent to, who's also a surgeon, is Dr. Kareem Chamey. Um, and then I had a visit with radiation oncologist, Dr. Amar Kishan. They're both at UCLA,
Cool.
um, and
Have you had
and
any kind of blood test for? No, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Have you had a biopsy yet?
yeah. So after the MRI, um, went for a biopsy.
Was it MRI guided?
Oh gosh,
Fusion, what they call MRI fusion guided biopsy.
I'm not sure actually.
It's where they use the imaging from the MRI to
No,
target.
no. Well, I mean, I think they use the imaging, but I wasn't in an MRI machine. I
No,
think
no, no.
the urologist.
It would just be using the MRI images during the biopsy to target the lesions.
Yeah, I think the urologist who did the biopsy was I think he had access to the MRI,
Good.
and then he used I think he used some kind of sonar thing
Mm-hmm.
uh, um,
Yep.
to get the I think the 12 cores they took.
Yeah, that's my next question is how many cores?
So they did 12 cores.
And does it say how many were targeted out of the 12?
Yeah, there was 6 targeted,
6 out of 12 were targeted, all right?
and in those 6, I assume those were the 2 lesions. I assume.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in the 6, there were 2 cores that had 3+4s, and outside the targets in the LLB and the LLM. I guess that's
It's probably
yeah
a region, I would
yeah
imagine.
regions.
Do
There
you
was
know?
two. There was 2 that were 3.4. I mean 3+4 and 3+4.
Okay. Of the 3+4s, does it say how much 4 there was percentage wise?
Yeah. Let's see. And well, in the first target
Yep.
core that had a 3+4, the percent of G force is 20%,
Okay.
and in the second target core that had some, it says 10%,
Okay.
and then in the cores outside the target, one of them was also 10%, and another one was 40%.
Now, was that, those were not 4s, were they?
Yeah.
That's from this percentage of G4.
Okay, so it was 4. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think all the cores had some 4 in it, Eric.
Of the
yeah,
targets, of the
yes.
targeted ones.
Both the 2
Yeah.
targets and the non-targeted cores. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then the rest of the cores were what?
Um, all the rest of them were benign, except for one in the target was listed as BFM, benign fibromuscular tissue, no prostatic tissue seen.
Okay. But no Gleason score for that one.
Yeah, nothing
Okay.
there.
So you had 6 that had some 4 and 6 that were all benign. Is that my takeaway?
Um, four that had PCA, and
Okay, 4. Got it.
eight that were not.
4 cores were positive with 4%, some form of Gleason 4. Got it.
Yeah, yes.
And have you had any, I'm sorry, I forgot to back up. The biopsy, was it transperineal or transrectal?
Transrectal, yeah.
Okay. Truss. And what else? Have you had any perineal invasion or cribriform or anything unusual in the biopsy? Any
I'm not
notes
sure what
like
you
that?
mean.
Any other notes beyond the Gleason score?
Oh, yeah. There's a column here in my report, um, and one of the columns is PNI, which I think is what you're referring to.
Yeah, perennial invasion.
Yeah, perineal invasion, and in 3 of the 4 cancer cores, we'll call them,
Mm-hmm.
it was indicated there.
That you had PNI?
Yeah.
Okay. And
2 in the target cores and 1 in the non-targeted core.
okay. Basically 3 out of the.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else? Have you had a second opinion on this biopsy from another pathologist?
No, not yet. I learned about that at the conference.
Okay.
Did you guys all do that?
I did, yeah. I got mine sent to Dr. Zhao.
Doctor?
Dr.
We'll put the information on the doctors that we recommend for second opinions. We'll put that in the chat window, and you'll be able to copy that or.
I'll definitely put that in unless somebody else can beat me to it.
No, why don't you go ahead, Eric? Because you know where it is. You have it well formatted. We often recommend, especially in a situation like yours with a bunch of 3+4s, that the pathology gets reread. Although your pathology report sounds pretty good. Was the pathology report generated by UCLA, Lindsay?
I think so. Yeah. Yes. I think
It is a UCLA report. Huh?
Yeah.
Even so, it makes a lot of sense because with small amounts of 4, like you have in several cores, when you get one of the best eyes, and both these gents have really good eyes as far as GU pathology is concerned, and especially prostate cancer, they may see it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And if we reduce the amount of 4 that you're seeing, it makes it an easier decision for you if you are thinking of doing active surveillance. So for the sake of just sending it out, it's usually covered by your insurance. It runs $250 to $450 if it isn't, but it's almost always covered. You choose one of those guys, either Dr. Epstein or Dr. Zhao, and you ask UCLA to send it to them. Now, what's kind of neat is that people rarely talk to pathologists. They live in the basement of the building. But both these guys love to talk to patients.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So most of our guys who have gotten second readings, and how many people have got second readings from Zhao or Epstein here? Okay. So we've got a couple. So most of these guys have also had a conversation with them too, and they'll give you a pretty good feel for what's going on. And so, yeah, we do recommend it. By the way, it's a perfect opportunity to give a plug to a webinar we've been working on for a while, but just confirmed on the 30th of September. We will be running a webinar with Dr. Epstein. He'll be with us hopefully for 90 minutes. We'll have plenty of time for questions. Last time we did a webinar with Dr. Epstein, we got literally several hundred people on the webinar because he's a very popular item, and we'll basically be talking about how to interpret your prostate cancer biopsy. He'll be talking about crib reform and intraductal and perineural invasion and what it means and how serious it is. And he'll also be talking to the advanced guys about how they can figure out if their cancer is changing from one type of prostate cancer to another type of prostate cancer. So it should be a very good webinar. It'll be at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Watch for our reminders. So Lindsay, if we don't have you signed up, make sure you send us your email address in the bottom there, and you'll get reminders. and we should be featuring it coming up next week, and you'll sign up on the registration link, which will be on all the information.
Did you say that's coming September 30th?
September 30th.
I captured Lindsay's email address from his input to go to.
Okay, so you have that to
Excellent.
input, right, Bill? Okay, great. We have it. We have it.
Okay.
See how we all work together here.
It's a team. It's a team. Real quick, getting near the end here. Have you had any genetic tests to test if your family history has had cancer genes?
If you're referring to germline testing, then no. But because I asked Dr. Chamey, I asked him to. He's sending my stuff out for the oncotype test.
Good.
And then when I visited Dr. Kushan, he and his staff told me about the Decipher test,
Mhm.
and
That's a little
so
different. Yeah.
so they sent my stuff out for that. So I'm waiting for the results of those two things.
Yeah, that's
what about germline? You said you have not. Do you have cancer? Do you have any cancer in your family?
My dad had lung cancer.
Okay. Anything else? Aunts, uncles, cousins?
Well,
No.
I think yeah, I think my I think my dad's brother might have had some kind of cancer, like throat cancer.
Okay. Well, look, the germline test. I'm going to put a link in the window for you.
got it.
We strongly feel that everybody should get a germline test because it doesn't hurt. May tell you something. Doesn't sound like you've got anything. You can do it through UCLA, but your diagnosis doesn't warrant it. If it was a higher level diagnosis, that they would be required, and your history doesn't appear. But we have an option for a clinical trial called the PROMISE test, which is being run by University of Washington, Fred Hutch, and also
Eric, put
Johns
that
Hopkins.
information in the chat window also.
Hold on, too easy.
I'm just helping out.
Hold on, I'm in the middle of explaining. So it's in the Johns Hopkins and Washington. They use color, and it has 28 or 30 of the mutations. They send you a kit. You swab your mouth. You send it back, and you'll get a result. And as Bill was saying right in the chat window, there is a link that Eric kindly put in. If you click on that, it'll open. Now, we suggest you do it right away. We had a guy who did it actually during the meeting yesterday. And the reason for that is they are stopping at 5,000, and we think they have about 4,800 or maybe even 4,900. So we don't know how long this. So don't put it off for 2 weeks, because you may come back and it won't be free anymore. Okay.
So is the germline testing usually not covered by like Medicare, or is that why you suggest participating in this?
It's covered by Medicare if your doctor orders it.
Okay.
And if you went back to Cheney or Keyshan and you said, I would like to get the prostate cancer, I talked to my support group and they're suggesting I get a germline too, just to be sure, they're probably saying, okay, fine. So you can do that. Do not, when you click on this, don't have your results sent to your doc because it will take a lot longer. It doesn't need to go to the doc. You can pass them on to the doc. Some guys have done it and they've regretted it. So you want them to come straight back to you, and then you can give a copy to your doc, and they'll put it in your records. It's very benign. It's very simple. And God forbid we find something, there's a genetic test, you'll come back here and we'll help you, hold your hand, and tell you how to communicate with Kishan and Cheney about it.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Bill?
Yes.
It sounds like you got the Decipher going, so that's a good thing too. And
Have you
that's,
guys done those things too?
I
Or
sure
what did
have. And that's a sample from your prostate biopsy cores, and they look at the cells and grade your aggressiveness of the cancer, and they give you a score. So it's another metric to see where you are on this path and kind of make decisions based on one of those metrics too.
So if I was gonna try to
How many
get
gents
if I
have done one of these tests? Let's see a show of hands as to how many gents have done one of these tests. So quite a few. So sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
so if I'm going to have either a second reading like by Dr. Epstein or Dr. Zhao or a second opinion consultation with another doctor, is it probably recommended that I get all my tests, like my genetic test results first?
Yeah, I'd recommend getting your test results before a second opinion from a doctor,
And what
just so
about
they have more information in front of them to help you make a second opinion.
and what about the second pathology reading? Does it,
Absolutely,
so
100%.
okay, so
Good question.
all right.
And then to wrap it up, or almost wrap it up, what is your doctor recommending next
Good.
for you? Where are you going?
Well, I guess the reason why I'm here and the group is because Dr. Chamey started with, laying out just two options for me, which is removal. I like to call it removal rather than surgery. I should call it surgery. Um, Radical prostatectomy,
Yeah,
or radiation.
you're
And
not there yet, so let's
when
not.
my wife asked him, well, what would you do if it was you? He said, well, I'm a surgeon, so I'm biased towards surgery. Which
He's
I thought,
honest. Yeah,
honest, yes. But I feel like going into this, I feel disinclined to have surgery. And radiation didn't sound so great either, because
well, you're not there yet.
yeah, because honestly, I'm really interested in maintaining my sexual functions. You know,
Sure. Well,
my
get
wife, yeah. He didn't say think about focal therapies. He said no, I don't think so. And so I'm still learning about the possibilities,
right. Well,
Um,
get your
so
second opinion and get these test results back, and we can help you see where you're at based on those numbers. And
when I was at the conference this weekend, I went to they had this one period where they had groups for the different low, intermediate, and high risk. And I went to the intermediate risk meeting. A lot of people. Moderator asked who here is a 3+4 score, which is like me, right? Like probably 24 men raised their hands, and then the moderator said, "And of you, who's on active surveillance?" And it seemed like 90% of those people had their hands up. And I was like, "What?" Like I like because my doctors haven't said to me this could be a possible option, and so I was like, "Whoa, how does this work?" And and I it's like yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
a lot of
So
us.
I think we should go to Ignacio. Ignacio had his hand up, and then he took it down, so now he can put it up again. And Ignacio found himself in a very similar position to you about a year ago.
Um, yeah, and to further add to the similarities, I also have a small prostate, about the same size as yours, and so I also have high PSAD. Um, Now, I did not hear if on the fourth core that is 3 plus 4. Did you say the four was 4% or 40%?
40.
one
40.
of them is 40%. Yeah, 40. Yeah.
Yeah, that to me would so in the words of Dr. Cooperberg, if I was to pursue active surveillance, which I think you can, but if it was me and I had 40% for, that would be pretty high intensity active surveillance. In other words,
Well,
I would be very um, uh, so prudent with doing the biopsies on time, the MRIs on time. Me
can I
personally, not a doctor, but 40%
well
sounds kind
can I
of.
just interject? You can't look at the 40% alone. You have to look at the 40% with the length of the core. Because if
Yeah,
we're talking about 2 millimeter, which happened in a discussion yesterday, if we're talking about 40%, but it's only a 2 millimeter core,
oh, okay. Yeah,
right?
that's a good point.
Right.
Yeah,
So we have to ask him what percentage and how long was that core, and then we have to take those two things together.
yeah. But in your case, and I kind of am, in the same boat. I I would certainly pursue active surveillance, but be extremely
Okay.
cautious.
And wait for that second opinion too, because that'll change, could change things as well. Do you remember what the size of the core was that had the 40%?
I don't know if they tell me.
You should.
See.
They should tell you the length of the They should tell you the total length of the sample, and also
Oh,
the length of the cancer in there.
okay. I think. Okay, I'm looking at a different table. A specimen summary. Does that
Yeah,
sound like the right thing? So
could be.
they got columns that say site, pieces, description, and then probably specimen length in
Yes,
centimeters.
yes, please.
Okay, so like for that, for the one in question of concern with 40%, um, in that column, it says 1.7 centimeters.
That's small.
Well, that would have
So
been the length of the core, most likely. But what was the length of the lesion that they found in that core?
um, I don't know because that was one of the non-targeted.
Mm.
So it's interesting because that length is 1.7 and the core above it, which is another one of the outside the target, but also had a 3+4. That was a 2.3 centimeter length. That's interesting.
Well, a couple things. The first one is that if you have a small prostate and they get a cord that is 2.3, then it captures a large swath of the prostate, probably a couple of regions,
Okay.
right? And I'm also in the same case. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I learned at the conference last year, it was said a couple times that lesions that are found, or tumors that are found on the biopsy that are not from targeted cores, in other words, they're tumors not seen on MRIs, those tend to be less aggressive. So that's good news.
Mm.
And Rick, do you want to speak to the PNI?
Yeah.
Yeah. So perineural invasion is a very controversial subject. What it means is that when they took the cord, there were nerves running through the section that they extracted, and the cancer was in those nerve channels. So the theory, the hypothesis is, well, if it got into the nerve channels, it can run out and get into other parts of the body through the nerve channels. The problem, I don't call it a problem. The research has shown that that probably doesn't happen, and so most people will disregard. However, perineural invasion is often associated with more aggressive cancer. So I had perineural invasion and I was a 4+4, and you'll see it more often. But just because it's there doesn't mean that it's going to do anything bad. I'm hoping that Dr. Epstein will explain that too on the 30th, and he'll talk a little bit about what we know about perineural invasion and to what extent it should be a concern.
This is where that second opinion can help as
Comes
well.
in. And the other thing I wanted to say to you is that UCLA in recent years has not really been in the forefront of doctors that promote active surveillance. Now, there are other hospitals that are. There are some great doctors at Hopkins. There are some great doctors at UCSF. There are some good doctors at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And they will say, yeah, you could do surgery, but okay, even with this 3+4, we can watch it. You don't have those doctors today, but you'll have a doctor there within 2 months who is in the forefront, because the incoming chair of urology is a gent called Dr. Scott Eggener, Eggner. And Scott Eggener has been at the University of Chicago for many, many years. And he's in the forefront of promoting active surveillance. So if you've read any of these articles with Cooperberg and Eggener and others wanting to rename cancer 3+3 cancer, he's one of the guys that's right there in believing that. And I think what's going to happen at UCLA is that the surgeons there are going to get a lot more on board with and feel more comfortable with promoting active surveillance under Dr. Eggener's guidance.
Mm.
So that's just a bit of background about what's in store.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So to that point, Rick, does if a patient wants to pursue active surveillance, is there like a standard process, or like could you just decide to do it? My wife was saying you got to find a doctor, right, who will do that. I was thinking I don't know. I mean, like, what if you decide after you get all your information, you get the other readings, And
Well, I have an opinion, but I'm going to let you talk to some of these guys who have convinced their doctors they should be doing active surveillance. Alan, you're quiet there, but you can speak up on this one.
I'm the other way around, Rick. I went to a doctor who's supporting it. I switched into MSK specifically knowing a doctor who would support it. And I also went to Weill Cornell, and I did see a radiation oncologist. He walked through the door, and the first words out of his mouth, he actually is the same person who treated my brother. He looks at me and says, "I believe very strongly in active surveillance." I thought that was the pause, the end of the sentence. There were three more words, "for you." So this was a radiation oncologist. I have less, but I have four like you. I have a spot that is between 10 and 15% four. They've all looked at me and said, active surveillance and just keep testing. I'm at 6-month intervals right now on my testing.
what is the intervals, Alan? Is it biopsies or is it PS test or MRI?
PSA, PSA tests. They're doing PSA. I have prostatitis in chronic form, so it spikes. They've had 2 PSA tests that have spiked wildly, but then they retest it weeks later and it's back down. Right now I'm at a low PSA level, and so they told me every 6 months I'll see my doctor at MSK. I'm actually going to a conference they're running in New York this weekend, but I'm scheduled for my next appointment in January, and they may or may not do an MRI based on everything else. My active surveillance doctor's attitude is we do the PSA, see how that goes, see the time intervals, maybe we do an MRI. He's not rushing me into a second biopsy. He said, well, one step at a time, see how each one goes. If it looks good, just keep repeating. If something starts to come up, we go to the next step.
And how long have you been on doing active surveillance, Alan?
I was diagnosed in January. So I'm in theory, but I had been in effect the active surveillance routine for about 2 years or 18 months before that because my PSA had spiked. I had an MRI, which at that point showed PIRADS 3. They made the decision not to do a biopsy, but keep doing the keep doing the PSA. My PSA was still low, everything was good, but they did another MRI at 18 months, and I had a PIRADS 4, and they said, "Oops, you need to go in and have a biopsy now because things have changed, not for the better."
Who else has a story about finding the right doctor that would supervise AS? Oh, Ray's got his hand up.
Muted, Ray.
He's looking
Ray,
for
you're muted.
After I was diagnosed with 5 of 6 cores from the one tumor, which was a PIRAD 3, as being 3 plus 4. 4 was low. It was originally 3 to 5%. A second opinion called it closer to 3% on the 4. But my urologist said, well, I want you to talk to a doctor and a radio-oncologist. I'm sorry, a surgeon. The surgeon I went to said, it sounded like a used car salesman, first of all. And coincidentally, I talked to another guy a couple months later who loved his surgeon, but told me he went to another guy first who sounded like a used car salesman. I said, what was his name? He said it was is the same guy. He told me I had a large tumor. Turns out I don't have a large tumor. He said he thought I should have it out pretty soon. And then, interestingly enough, he sent me his notes, and he said I agreed to have it out, which I didn't. And when I saw him, I signed some agreement that if I was scheduled for a surgery and I canceled it, I had to pay a $600 fee, which I thought was weird, but I didn't. But then he says in his notes, so I had to send 2 emails. The second one a little bit more stern about getting a reply that I did not agree to have surgery, and I finally got it. The second, the radio oncologist, who I absolutely loved, and I probably wouldn't do radiation, but he was very much like Alan. He said, how worried are you about this? I'm like, I'm not particularly that worried from everything I've seen. Why? And he goes, and I would do active surveillance. I have a friend of mine who's a doctor who's the same position as you. I told him to do active surveillance. He wanted it out, but that was him. I would do and he spent 2 hours with my wife and I. He showed the odds. Basically, he's like 1 in 5,000 you're going to die if you have radiation. 1 in 5,000 you're going to die if you have a radical prostatectomy. And then it was like only slightly lower. I was going to die if I do nothing. So I thought he was terrific. And then he said he sent me to a metastatic cancer guy. He goes, look, I'm going to send you to a guy who doesn't have a horse in this race, but he's very smart. And he spoke at the PCI conference, and I went to him, and he said my Decipher score had not come back yet. He said if this Decipher score is low, I would certainly do active surveillance. He checked with his friends, and when my Decipher score did come back low, and he said, yeah, active surveillance. So I'm not a big fan. I did go see another surgeon who was very honest with me and did say you're a good candidate for active surveillance if you want to do it. So I would be very careful with the people that are. The other thing you should ask a surgeon too is what is the rate, because I think it's, and Rick, you can tell me, it's either 20 or 25% of all radical prostatectomies. Now, of course, that's everything from someone who's got a 3-3 or 3-4 to a 5+5 has a recurrence anyway. So having a full, your radical prostatectomy doesn't guarantee that you're not going to have a recurrence either. So you should ask them what the rate is of that too, which the first guy went to say, oh, there's a 90% full recovery rate, whatever the hell that meant. But I'm told that that's not the case with, there are all sorts of problems and things like that can occur. So I would just, if you can do active surveillance, I've been doing it 15 months so far, and so far so good. So.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we'd add to that is you mentioned nobody talked to you about focal therapy. The rate of recurrence with focal therapy is 50%. Pretty much whatever type of focal therapy you choose. Now, that's really distorted because a lot of people with 3+3 cancer are treated with focal therapy when they needn't be treated at all. But these guys who have the focal therapy machines, they got to make some money somehow. And even some of the academic practitioners, like at UCLA, will want to do it because they're doing their research and they want you in their trials. And so they do focal therapy on 3+3s. So that distorts. So in fact, people who have got 3+4s, people who have 4+3 should never do focal therapy, but some of them do and higher. And those who have 3+4 are probably failing at a higher rate if we were to take out the 3+3 people who were probably not going to fail anyway because they didn't need the treatment. So focal therapy is an option, but it's not something that we here at AnCan tend to favor. And if we do, it's got to be very much for the right person, and they've got to go in knowing that they're going to have a very high level of recurrence. We've had too many people in our recurrent and advanced group who are coming from focal therapy. So if it were me, I wouldn't even be thinking about focal therapy if I had multiple sites and fours. But, just to get back, and I think then we probably have to move on, Eric, but just to get back to what we all said, get all this information in first. Get your information in, and then worry. Come back here. Let's talk to you about what it is after Epstein or Zhao have looked at it, where you sit, what percentage in each core, and then we can talk to you in a meaningful fashion about how to deal with your doc. The one thing you don't have to worry, this is not going to go anywhere quickly.
Exactly.
My big thing is trust, but verify. That's where the second opinion comes in and all that stuff. And then, how are you doing, Lindsay, on mental health and state and anxiety or anything like that in all of this journey?
Kind of various. Yeah, I've kind of gone through. Yeah.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling my wife last night that the conference was helpful to me because partly because it gave me some both new information and a different perspective about it, and kind of a little bit of a little bit of hope, because I'd kind of been recently kind of like going into a little place of kind of despair about, like, oh, it's just, you know, I've got bad choice A and bad choice B. What are you going to do? I didn't feel like I had
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to say, this is one of the reasons why you should keep coming back to this meeting, because the longer you're here and the more you see all the guys around here who are in your position and are on active surveillance, you'll begin to feel a lot better about, the choices that you're making, without feeling that you've got this thing hanging over you that's sort of like a sword of Damocles, because it's absolutely not. You're just going to keep picking up information, and you will begin to feel a lot better.
Yeah, the information helps a lot. Dan, you want to say something?
Yeah, it dovetails exactly with the information. So, Lindsay, I don't know how much research you've done on your own or even know where to go for research, but get in there and dig in and start looking at things on your own, because one of the things that Eric and I talked about at the conference is collectively we know more than most of the individual community doctors that we run into. And the more you can go in and have your research and know the things that you want to ask, and if the doctor doesn't tell you what you want to hear, then you need to fire that doctor and go find somebody else. I mean, you're at UCLA, chances are you're going to find somebody really solid there, and Rick and the others here will be able to guide you in that. But you are your first order of defense is equip yourself. These guys are tremendous, great information, but for you, you need to dig in yourself and go to PubMed, look at those things, look at all the resources on the AnCan website, go to PCRI, some of their sources. Equip yourself, make yourself as comfortable as you can so that you can have a good conversation. And like Eric said, trust but verify. I mean, it's your body, it's your journey, it's not anybody else's. So do your research.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
definitely, if you want to talk about this with other guys, AnCan does offer a mental health support group called Men Speaking Freely.
Mm-hmm.
It's every Thursday in the same room, same time, and you can talk about anything you want except treatments. Anything you want except treatments. So it's very open and very supportive in that sense. So definitely check it out if you just want to pop in and listen, or you want to say something.
Right.
Even if you
It's not every Thursday. It's first and third Thursdays.
Is it? Okay, my bad.
And when Bill signs you in, he'll make sure you get a reminder for the Men Speaking Freely group.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got that thing.
There you go. I
Okay.
remember that paper.
You're signed up for Men Speaking Freely. So.
Yeah.
And then
Computers.
And
My
the rest
computer's right
of,
here. I took care of it.
It's a
and the rest
great
of,
group.
oh,
It's a
sorry, go
really
ahead.
good group. If any of you have not attended, it's worthwhile. We have so many guys who come into that group and say this is the best group in all of AnCan. So it's really a sweet group. And we don't talk about treatment. It's not just prostate cancer, guys. It could be any man with a chronic disease. It's open to anybody. So tell your friends, bring your friends with you. If they're dealing with some sort of chronic issue, that's just fine. And it's a nice group. I think we need to check on. We have a new gent there.
Yeah, hang on. I just want to wrap up, Lindsay. If you had any questions for us before we depart.
No, it's been great. I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot.
Excellent. We're here for you. Please come back. You're welcome to stay as long as you want.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I may have to
then,
go to cook dinner.
and then Dustin is a new arrival. Are you new here, Dustin? Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I just thought I'd drop in and just listen and see what it was about.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here. Do you
Thank
want us
you.
to talk to you or you just want to listen?
Um, I went to the meeting this weekend, PCRI meeting, and yeah, it was really good. I got a lot of information. I was just recently diagnosed, probably about 6 weeks ago, with the Gleason 3+3 6, and so in fact, I haven't even had a chance to have my consult with my urologist yet to kind of discuss, options or no options or whatever yet. It sounds like for me, I'm probably just going to do active surveillance at this point. Sounds like the smart thing to do.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to take you in and go through all your numbers if you want, or you can just listen and come back next week. Your call.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I'll probably just listen for now, and then I'll get everything together
Yeah, and then
and
you'll have your consult too to talk about. So please come back next week.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
The question, Dustin, is do we have your email address so we can send you a reminder?
No, do I give it to you or do I input it
You
somewhere in the
can,
web?
well, you can do this two ways. You can just put it in the chat window and you can do it publicly or send it to Bill or me or Eric and we'll input it for you. Or you can go on the website and you can see all the other things we offer and make the selection you want. Are you a vet by any chance?
No.
Okay. So whichever you prefer. If you want to put it in, we'll take care of it. I will say for the new guys that the reminders they're not just reminders that the meetings come up, they're also newsletters. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Howard Walensky just wrote an article, which we're going to call Goodbye to Gadolinium, which probably means that you won't need, as the equipment gets adopted, you won't need gadolinium anymore, which will make a lot of people happy. There's a lot of good newsy stuff in there that pertains to what you're doing. So, Dustin, either stick it in the chat window and we'll take care of it, or just go onto the website and click on Contact Us.
Okay, that sounds great. I will do that.
Thanks for being here. Come on back.
Yeah, I will. I'll be there.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the group? If not, I have a question.
Go ahead, Eric.
All right. Well, I was curious if anybody on their MRI report ever had the precise score spoken about. Because apparently it's about comparison to your previous MRIs and how things have changed. And I didn't see one on mine. And I've had 4 MRIs and I'm wondering why it's not there. And I need to talk to my radiologist and why it's missing. I didn't know if anybody
I
in the group had talked about it.
well, I have a feeling, I'm not certain, but I have a feeling it might be something proprietary to UCLA,
Oh,
especially given who gave you that information.
okay.
And if you, it might be worth doing a quick Google search and seeing if the precise score for MRIs is something that is associated with UCLA or not, because I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
And most of the guys haven't talked about it here before. And there's a lot of good stuff going on. I mean, that Prostox test is something that was developed at UCLA and really was exposed largely at UCLA before it became more widely available. So that there are little things like that. So that's what I think it is. But this is a great segue to get into the conversation that BJ asked for, and I think is good. Now, I will not be participating too much because I didn't spend too much time in any of the presentations, but there are gents here who did, and they will be very, very happy to uh, tell you what they learned.
Yeah, just before we depart from me,
Yes.
the one sentence thing is it's a tool used for patients on active surveillance for prostate cancer, evaluating changes in a lesion between MRI exams and helping to predict disease progression over time. And nothing about anything specific to a center of excellence or anything like that. So I'll just ask my radiologist about it and see what he says. Thank you.
If I could add to that, so thank you for the information. I think it's great, and I'll certainly ask, for a precise score. One other thing to ask for is your ADC score on MRI,
Hmm.
and the higher the number, the better.
Okay.
And it also speaks to, if possible, to get your MRIs at the same facility with the same equipment. I've had two MRIs. Unfortunately, they were not at the same facility, and the second one seems to include more information than the first, including the ADC score.
Hmm.
And thank you, Eric. I'll certainly ask, for a precise score when I have my third MRI.
Yeah. Can you explain what ADC is?
Yeah, so ADC, it stands for the apparent diffusion coefficient,
Wow.
and my understanding is that it's a measurement of how much fluid flows through the tumor, and so the higher that number is, the better, and it's just another figure to keep in mind. We have so many with the cipher scores, PSA, PIRAD, uh, and so on. It's just another tool in your toolkit.
Cool. Is it one score for the whole scan or just for?
No, per tumor, for
Okay.
for each tumor. So in my case, that I have a PIRADS 4 and a PIRADS 5. My ADCs came back 1125 and 1138, and fortunately, that is usually indicative of not aggressive cancer. So I'm obviously happy about that. But if it's like under, I believe it's 900, then the lower the score, the more aggressive the cancer tends to be.
Hmm.
So certainly ask for your ADC score.
Excellent. Thank you. And I saw Dan, you posted some stuff. Any comments on that?
Yeah, it's two papers on the precise score for specifically for prostate MRIs if you're interested in doing a little additional reading on the side.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Did
Yeah,
you learn anything, or you haven't read it yet either?
I haven't read it. I just glanced at it. Seems
Well,
like
I might just put another one in, Dan.
I'll give you a full report next week, hopefully, after I do a deep dive on it. And maybe get some numbers from my radiologist. Anything else from the group? Anything to share from the conference? I loved it. It was great to see everybody in person. That was probably my favorite part. And then obviously all the information as well. But seeing all the faces in person was great, and the camaraderie and the support. Rick was all right. He was pretty good in person. But no, I'm kidding.
I think the homeless
Right.
guy in the restaurant bathroom was the highlight.
Yeah, right.
Ray, would
Poor
you like
Ray,
to comment? Ray was not the homeless guy.
Poor Ray.
No, I was probably most affected by the homeless guy. I wasn't.
Oh boy.
60-year-old with prostate issues.
I
That's not exactly what you want when you can't when there's no other restroom around.
don't think there was a homeless guy in the restroom.
Well, I talk about what I learned a lot, but most of mine was for a different topic for this group. So
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to ask the guys like Ray and BJ, and these guys were good about attending. They were in all the important things. What did you take away from it? What did you learn? I mean, I'll pick on BJ because he was the one that said we should have a discussion about this.
I just think that a huge amount of information is overwhelming. At the same time, as much as first time I was there last year, I was overwhelmed by it. This time, I kind of sort of felt like I knew what I wanted, where I wanted to go, and what kind of information I wanted to hear, type thing. And so, in a sense, you gain a bit of experience from that by attending. And then I just really was impressed by Mark Moyat in the way that he follows science and the way he follows uh, the trials and the way he interprets a lot of that. So it's people like that are and also what was the Cooperberg guy from UCSF and a few others. But the thing about it is that these people to me sound like they don't have much ego, in a sense that they share things and they really want to do good and they want to um, you know teach us the latest and get us to the right place for each one of us. And so I was really impressed with that, and I encourage everybody to check out I assume that their presentations will all be on the site at some point soon. Am I right?
they usually wait about a month or two to release the whole
And
video.
so I encourage everybody to check into them and just like hear them and get yourself more familiarized with the latest research and talk.
Yeah, you can
So
go back
did
and
you,
watch last year's.
BJ, did you get any nugget of information that made you feel more comfortable doing your active surveillance by the end of the conference than when you went in?
Well, it's funny, each one of us are there to try to figure out what our next step is. And I did feel a little bit better because I was at a fork or I didn't know what to do. And my guy is retiring at the end of the month. I didn't know if I should stick with him or if I should wait for a new set of people to go to and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that you hear other people's stories and you hear where people are, and you see some of the anxiety, you see some of the, I don't want to call it indifference, but for the ones that have been there 10 years or something, you see like they're still searching and seeking, and sometimes their numbers have changed, their situation has changed. So I mean, this is all down to a human level, and it it made me feel like, first of all, I'm not alone, and at the same time, um, there's just such a vast resource that I can, even if there was something that I didn't get to or I did not understand or whatever, I can go and research and learn more and discuss that with you guys and others. So
And what about Ray? What did you take away from the conference, Ray?
Well, I was first amazed that you could actually ask really specific questions and say, I have a PSA of this and a decipher of this, and really go over, and the doctors were happy to answer your questions. And so I was very impressed with that. I was impressed with the active surveillance. It seems that the recommendations of the AUA and the NCCN have changed as far as active surveillance, and there were people that were up on that, and I was glad to be able to, that they talked about that. So it was a very impressive group of doctors, and very open to talk to you about almost anything. And I got a lot of confirmation on things that I was thinking, and stuff we talked about in the group. But to have doctors, especially after the first surgeon I went to, telling me that I needed my prostate out very soon, it was reassuring that that a lot of the stuff I've learned from this group was confirmed, and then just some new things. And so I thought it was a very good conference. I was very impressed with it.
So what many of you may not know is that when these new guidelines are in draft before they get published, we try to review them at AnCan from a patient's perspective. And we have some guys who have been around a little bit who will contribute to that. Sometimes it's as many as 6. This time it was just a couple of us that commented on some guidelines for treatment, really more treatment than active surveillance guidelines that the AUA is seeking comments on. There are very few of the prostate cancer organizations that do that. We think it's really important, and we may well come to some of you, especially those of you who have done a lot of work and studying and done the research, to ask you for comments in the future. If you want to review them, you usually have to sign a non-disclosure agreement and give up your firstborn. But by and large, it's so helpful. And I mean, for example, some of you in this group are aware of these PSMA studies because some of you have sought PSMA studies. And in this most recent set of local guidelines, which is a revision to the 2022 guidelines, they're now recommending wider use of PSMA guidelines. But not once anywhere in the guidelines do they mention to the doctors that 20% of men don't produce PSMA. Somewhere between 15 and 20, I think people will use different numbers, say 18%. Well, heck, that's 1 in 5 guys, and they're telling their urologists to use these PSMA scans. 20% of those guys come back negative. they're not taking into account that they may not make PSA. They have to figure that into their thinking. And I don't know if anybody else pointed it out, but we pointed it out. Guidelines need amending for the guys who don't make PSMA. So, that's the sort of thing. We're also looking from your standpoint. So I just wanted to mention that when and some of those changes you're seeing in the AUA and NCCN guidelines are down to AnCan in past years, where we've pushed them to incorporate more favorable changes to AS. Because AUA is impossible. AUA is not interested in active surveillance because it doesn't make him any money.
The PSMA thing is, how do you know if you're part of that 18 to 20%?
Oh my gosh, that's an excellent question, and it's really, really difficult. So there is no over-the-counter test to see if you make PSMA right now. There are tests available. They're used in the lab and they're used in clinical trials, but nobody markets a test to see if you make PSMA or you don't. So what generally happens if you have more advanced disease is you have to do other tests. If you're negative and you don't get a result, you do 2 or 3 tests and you don't get a result, you start thinking, well, maybe I don't make PSMA. So we would do another test like an Axumin test, the pifilostat. I think I'm getting that name wrong. The F18 pifilostat test. And something might show up on that. So just because you don't make PSMA doesn't mean there's nothing there. It's very difficult. It's very difficult if you get a false positive with your PSMA to know whether that is because you don't make PSMA or because you don't have anything positive to report. Actually, I should say a false negative, isn't it? Correct me, somebody. Isn't it a false negative? Because we're not seeing anything, but
Yes.
maybe we have something. So that would be a false negative.
Yes.
Correct.
It's all Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. I get myself very confused on this stuff, but I think it's a false negative we should be talking about. But yes, 20% of men do not make PSMA. The other thing that's also relevant with PSMA is that it's more likely to express the more advanced the cancer is. So it's less useful in early active surveillance setting. But I'm really more interested in what people learned and what they took away. And Ignacio, hey man, what did you take away this year?
All right, let me give you the full spectrum. I agree with both Eric and Ray in that I found meeting people in person and seeing you again in person was the best part. And I also agree that being able to obtain a sliver of time from experts is invaluable. That was fantastic. Just, a sliver of time was great. If I'm going to be critical, though, my only criticism is that if you do your research, you can pretty much find the same presentations that Dr. Keyshawn and Cooperberg gave. They've given the same talks before, so they are already available online on YouTube, just in a different setting. That's all. So those talks, while fantastic, the Q&A was certainly good, but the content was all things that I had seen before.
I would agree with that. I would say one of the things.
Mr. Colonel Gifford, I'm so sorry.
No, Dan works. Yeah, Mr. Colonel Dr. Dan, just Dan works. I think one of the big things was a confirmation of things that I have already heard through these meetings that I've been through, the different support groups. So I didn't take away anything in particular that was new, which to a degree is comforting because I know that I'm getting good information as I sit in and I have these conversations. And I'll say it again. I said it earlier to Lindsay, and Lindsay, I'm glad you're still here listening. Uh, we are collectively, we know more about this disease than many doctors, not the true experts that are doing it, not the Doc Schultzes, not those guys, but the the community doctors, the urologists that we go to, because of the things that we talk about here, because of the research that we collectively do. It was I was There was nothing there that I was like, wow, I never knew that. There were things that were confirmed. There were things perhaps were refined a little bit, but we've talked, and I've only been in this group for a very short time relative to many of you. So that was my big takeaway. And yeah, it was great meeting you guys, and I really thought the homeless guy walking into the bathroom was the highlight.
Do you want to say anything about exercise? Because there were a couple of sessions on exercise, and I know I wasn't in them. Some of you were, and you
I
found
was
them
there.
quite. Yeah, you found them quite helpful. Who wants to speak to exercise?
What I learned was it's not just cardio, but also muscle mass was a big thing.
Yes.
And I'm pretty scrawny, so I'm like, oh, I guess I need to get some muscle mass going on because apparently that's helpful as well. So that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing about exercise. Forget about the healthy act. What it does for your head is terrific.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody real quick before we depart here, if you want to save this chat with all the links, if you look quickly at the top of the chat window, and there's 3 vertical bars. If you click on that, you can download the entire chat session to your desktop for later reference. That's all. Go ahead. Anybody wants to talk about the exercise? All right.
I asked Doc Newton a very specific question, and Rick, we've had this conversation before, but specifically about that, what appears to me as the dichotomy between exercise and hardcore exercise, like lifting heavy weights and doing hardcore cardio, which increases testosterone, and the ADT treatment, which knocks down testosterone, yet we're exercising at the same time. So I asked him that, and he said that was a very good question. What he said was the exercise, when we exercise, we in essence are making our muscles more hungry for testosterone rather than doing nothing. So while hardcore exercise does increase testosterone, it's used to build muscle as opposed to feed the cancer in the prostate, which for me was helpful. So that was
Great.
I'll go back, and I did walk away with that. That was the one question I really wanted to answer. I wanted to have answered.
Great question.
And I can tell you from personal experience that even when you have no testosterone in your body, you can build muscle from exercise, because I did it. I was lifting more weight when I was on ADT than I could before and after. And that was because I was making myself do it 3 times a week regularly.
And that reinforces Doc Newton's point, where when you're exercising, you're feeding your muscles as opposed to feeding your prostate, because your muscles have that, I'll say, a desire.
Yep.
So you're feeding the muscles. So it's
Sounds
kind of a nuance, if you will, from a physiology standpoint.
Sounds like a mild form of ADT because you're basically robbing the cancer of the testosterone, no?
Yeah, you can probably make that argument.
Maybe.
I love Moyad's Q&A, kind of making the presenters a little uncomfortable answering the hard questions that I was like, yes, that's a good question. So Moyad really got the Q&A after each presentation, really drills down on the nitty gritty of the presentation that was given. I love that.
Yeah, he liked to put the speakers on the spot.
You could tell they were like, well,
I don't know if I want to answer that question.
yeah, exactly. Anybody listening?
You
All right.
know, some of those docs are not first timers.
Yeah, for sure.
And the docs who aren't first timers really banter with Moyad. And that gets real interesting, like when Mac Roach was there last year and Moyad tried to have a go at him, and but Roach was on top of that. He wouldn't have any of it. And then it sort of gets fun. But yeah, yep.
And
Excellent.
if anybody's interested, registration for 2026 is open and it's only $15.
Oh, now for next year already for September?
Yeah, they've
Yes,
already got the
go to
date.
the PCRI website,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
think it's the 11th through the 13th. No location yet, but it's only $15 if you want to register.
Well, almost, the only place they've had it which has not been the Marriott was last year when they went to the Westin because they couldn't get the Marriott and the Westin's a sister hotel. So they actually did, they're pretty much always at the Marriott. And Bill's going to go next year. I probably won't go next year. Bill's going to go and we'll see who else goes.
Cool.
But
Well, Dustin and Lindsay, thanks for being here. We'd love to have you back.
Thank
Definitely
you.
help you out and navigate you through all this. So please come back again and tell your
So
friends.
yeah, I'm gonna have plenty of questions, I'm sure. I already have some, but I'm gonna wait. Well,
Good.
Dustin, where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, California.
Okay, you're in Manhattan Beach. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording and have a good night to all here.
Thanks,
Unless you want
guys.
to have any other last minute questions. All right, here we go.